Okay, keep playing.
One shot.
I'm TVing behind. I'm TVing behind.
Look at me.
Sunday. You have to go. You have to go.
I got him.
Yeah, keep going. I give you loot.
Don't be scared. Keep going.
Cassante.
I can look Cassante.
I have ulti here. I'm just gonna sleep him. Okay, look.
Okay.
Look.
I still watch. Has no watch.
Nice. Can we go Ashe?
I'm coming.
Yo.
Nice.
We go Baron, guys. We go Baron. Take the...
We can still win this.
Okay.
We still win. I gotta play Pretensios for a minute. Oh, you guys are too good, bro.
Nice.
I actually got carried. Good job.
You're right next to me.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think top guys.
Run away.
I'm fine, I think. He slapped me?
You might flash
Swallow
over.
Yeah,
him,
Swallow
man.
is looking. Liz looking too.
It looks really bad. I'm here, but
Look here, it's not bad.
it's really bad.
Okay.
Just go.
I'm gonna go.
Right now. Yeah, you can go whenever, Bill.
I go
I'm coming.
Star Baron.
I'm looking Zeri.
Still weaning.
Come Jatt.
Go. Just
I'm
fight.
killing the entire Rakan.
Just fight. Go mid.
You guys can end mid, I think.
I'm base. Okay.
I'm thinking kill me.
Yo, okay, Brom miss now. Oh, Brom bot.
Oh, frick my life.
I have ulti.
I wanna
I
keep
got him,
saying.
I got him. No flash.
Ooh,
Good
wow.
I wanna keep
You just
saying.
This reminds me of the
One
C9 series,
more.
no?
Kill. Nice.
I don't know
Yeah, you need
that.
to Tricking zero dots. Yeah, guys. Tricking, good job.
Frick my life. I think that's just such a great thing.
That's
To bring into our everyday lives as someone who's accidentally sworn on broadcast.
my greatest takeaway from this. Frick my
There we go. Welcome to Waiting Room, day 2 of the LCS playoffs here. Day 1 kicked off with a bang if you're a 100 Thieves fan, because 100
What did it
Thieves...
kick off with if you're a Dig fan?
It
hasn't kicked off.
It kicked off with an oof.
It didn't even kick off yet. Yeah, day 1, man, that was a massacre. It still feels brutal thinking about day 1 of playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they got absolutely crushed. We can check in on the bracket and see where we are set up with that now. Dignitas, of course, got 3-0'd. It wasn't even close. Each game was more one-sided, it felt like, than the final game was just a little bit over 20 minutes, it felt like. They got obliterated.
Yeah, they had to scrape him off the floor. It was actually just quick that day. I remember leaving the studio, bright as hell. The sun was shining in my eyes, 3 p.m. That never happens.
It was about 2 hours from when the first game started to when the series ended.
That's insane.
That's how fast.
I say thank you to 100 Thieves, because 100 Thieves are looking really good, delivering us some hype for their next matchup. They're in the upper bracket versus TL next.
True.
That looks very, very scary for them, but now I'm more hyped for that matchup than I was going to be.
Yeah, you have to give them more of a chance, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because no one would come in giving either of the teams, regardless of who won, a chance. But if you look this dominant, hey, maybe you could be a little bit more competitive. Maybe we're underestimating you.
That's true.
You also have to remember that next week we are going to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we are going to be having that additional third playoff series next week. Don't miss it out.
A small thing, a takeaway from yesterday. At least there was something that we can glean from. I know that I saw a glimmer in your eye, Ezreal, when you saw Senna get picked. Echoes and Black Cleaver both being built, and probably the most insane. Just if you were to tell anybody, get them out of a cryo freezer off of just for 2 years, and they're like, yeah, so Support Senna is now building both Echoes of Helia and Black Cleaver. What was your viewpoint? Just, of course, you were casting the game.
I mean, Black Cleaver is really, really strong. I think full Enchanter build can be really good also. Black Cleaver Rush probably made more sense because he had so much early gold. He got 2 early kills, then he got even more kills, was absolutely way, way ahead.
And the one drawback that people have been talking about when they're going the full Enchanter build is that they are still squishy, and Senna is prone to getting picked and stuff like that, so Black Cleaver Rush alleviates a little bit of that. But just because you can apply the stacks instantly now, stack it up really nicely, it is a supportive item, okay?
Yeah.
It's a support item. It's an all-around item.
Supporting them by killing them.
Supporting them by killing them, and your AD teammates get the benefit from the armor shred.
Exactly, and now that we are in Playoffs Fantasy, LCS has ended. So congratulations to all of you at home who topped your leagues on Sleeper, and a big thank you for playing along throughout the split.
Let's talk about some brackets.
Let's talk about brackets.
Talk about brackets.
Oh yeah. Are we moving up?
Yes, I think we are.
I'm like the designated drawer now.
Yeah, you are,
And
because we can't trust our handwriting.
It's just because I have neat handwriting. All right, so Rez, obviously the first thing we have to bring up.
Let's bring it out.
So.
Can I kick this now?
Oh, mine's not here, but
Message to producer,
I also had Dig winning down in the lower bracket, and we're gonna see NRG again today.
I mean, there's an earlier dig win I see here. Azale's
I don't
got
see
him.
that.
You gotta let Azale
I didn't
Wait,
even see that one. You had big winning yesterday.
Who changed their bracket? Because on the analyst desk, you guys did your predictions at the end of waiting room, and you were split on who was predicting.
Look,
So who changed their bracket? Who's the flip flopper here?
I didn't flip. All right, I didn't flip, but I will flip. I don't think it's gonna be.
Let me draw your eyes to down here, where I have them losing in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
I will be flipping this one. This is not accurate, guys. I will tell you right now that part where Dignitas beating 100 Thieves. I don't believe that.
So Razna, you and I both had Dig winning the rematch. We had 100 Thieves winning in the top side here, and then Dig winning the rematch. I also believe I'm going to flip on that.
Yeah.
And that's provided that Dig get through NRG, right? Because we haven't seen them yet today. They also had a rough end. But
mine looks good so far with the Dignitas immediately out.
Yeah, wait a minute. When did you make yours, Kobe?
What do you mean, when did I make it?
Before, at the same time
you made
everyone
it,
else?
when Emin sent out the request.
yeah, he knew.
Oh my God.
He just knew.
I will point
Kobe
out
the
that
prophet.
you are a bit of a coward not placing any series score on any of them.
Yeah, everyone else, we got some.
Yeah.
Not everyone. Jatt didn't put series score
true.
either.
We roasted him yesterday
Yeah.
too. You're not going to be exempt.
Okay.
True.
Fair roasting. I think the other big difference, at least to me, stand out was that Emily had FlyQuest.
Hers isn't up here, but she did have.
Mine
FlyQuest
isn't up
being
here,
C9.
but if it is, basically here, I'll just cross off Jatt's.
Yeah.
I had essentially, his is weird as well, because I have TL. I have TL going all the way through the upper bracket, and then in the C9 Fly, I basically have Fly. I have C9 winning up here, and then I have Fly winning here.
Yeah, you
and
have
going
Fly
to
in the finals.
And we'll see them today. I actually do think that Fly's macro is somewhat underrated. I know a lot of the mistakes they make are really visually obvious, and they look a lot shakier in their wins than both C9 and TL. But I actually think there's a lot of small things to really like about Fly. I think they're really good in the lane swap, which I know no one wants to hear. But yeah, that's why maybe I'll flip-flop on that if C9 come out and are like insanely dominant and show a slightly better mid game.
Does it make anyone nervous that everyone thinks TL is going to win?
A little bit.
Because I
Yes.
think back to Spring Split, and the split, well, it was earlier, right? It was before the playoff season started, but everyone was saying Cloud9 is going to win, right? At the beginning of the year.
I'm just shocked that Jatt, who's been Cloud9's stand all season long, gave up on them. And
Well, he
didn't-
does have them win in the
Yeah.
upper bracket at least. He has TL good knock to the lower bracket, but then they lose the rematch.
Yeah, he has them tripping at the finish line.
Yeah. That is. It is kind of interesting. He really did not believe in TL going into the. He put C9 first in his power rankings.
I don't feel too nervous about Team Liquid though. I feel like they have shown to be the most
They've
reliable.
shown enough.
Yeah, they've shown enough. They're the most reliable, the most consistent, and I think the meta only gets better for a team like Team Liquid with the way that the balanced team is going. They're going to be engaged tanks for Core JJ to play. There's no way they're taking those out of the meta, and they're just adding more of those types of junglers for Umpty to play. They've looked better when Umpty is on Sejuani and Maokai. Now he's got Vi buffs. They also have Skarner buffs. There's more utility tank jungles for them to play, and that's the style that everybody knows Team Liquid are best with.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone coming in today, I think, has FlyQuest as the heavy favorite. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that sets them up as those big favorites.
Yeah, for me, with FlyQuest, you kind of alluded to it, Emily, coming into this, is just like their lane swaps are one thing, their objective control is another. I also just think that their players are playing at a much higher level. And so you can say all about that about FlyQuest. I'm also just a little bit of a hater on NRG. I think NRG's has been having a lot of troubles. And in my assessment, it's a surprise that they're even in playoffs just because of how like Shopify Rebellion, the whole conversation around with like Boogie and his resurgence and how they were doing. So they have a lot to work on to make this a competitive series.
Yeah, I mean, FlyQuest as well, I feel like some of the errors that they have had that have caused them to drop some of their games, I think that they'll be able to correct these. Like a lot of the little mistakes that you've seen Bwipo make and stuff like that don't seem like those are mistakes that he should be making.
Yeah, and I think it's time to talk about lane swaps, which I
Let's do
know
it.
no one wants to talk about, but FlyQuest had a really cool composition that I would like to talk about. It's the Neela comp. I know that this is...
Professor Emily is here to educate us.
You know what's kind of cool is this actually like whips out into almost an entire sword. I would love to use it here, but I'm not going to. Oh. Basically, the setup for this swap is they're going to invade here. They clear the ward out here. They're eventually going to wrap around and get onto Thanatos, while Massu is going to be pushing up this wave. Pretty standard as it goes. The other important thing to note just throughout this game is that Quad ends up having push and prio on JoJo for a lot of this time. The big thing about this composition, as we talk through kind of how it's supposed to happen, and I know Busio talked about it after the game, he's like, we kind of just felt like playing it. We haven't really practiced it. But because they are so practiced in swap conditions like this, they are able to immediately get this kill onto Thanatos. And this essentially sets up the rest of the map for FlyQuest going forward. We'll fast forward through this. This is pretty standard first blood from them. I'm gonna pause. This is later in the game. The most important thing that's happened here is that they just blew JoJo's flash. Once again, have complete mid prio. And the thing that we're gonna highlight as this plays out is that Bwipo is actually going to die down here, right? But it's not gonna matter because of the pressure that FlyQuest ends up getting. Massu is gonna end up taking this turret and this turret up here. I wasn't getting trolled by this. Yeah, he's gonna push all the way in. Inspired is gonna end up getting on the grubs, and Quad actually TPs back to get this wave. Bwipo is gonna be able, once he respawns, to TP in and get this. All in all, this play took them from 600 gold ahead to 2.7k ahead in the entire run of play. And this is all set up just by their map understanding, how they want to play this composition, because Neela does take turrets that quickly. And these are the kind of small things that I like to see from FlyQuest, especially when piloting a composition that shows you need to have confidence in your bot laner to be able to do this, right? And they've shown a lot more confidence in Massu throughout this split.
And I think that's been the trend, right? Because when you think back to FlyQuest in spring, the previous iteration with Jensen, people talk so much about this is a team that's built around Inspired and Bwipo. They're the ones that are going to carry. They're the ones that the focus is going to be on. But coming into summer, it's felt like it's been a kind of a passing of the torch to Massu and Quad, who are really what the team is focused on now. Yes,
and I think that really helps them a lot because with how their team composition is supposed to go, a great example is honestly when FlyQuest used their lane swap against Shopify Rebellion in Game 3 to have a Sion, right? You want to be, I think Bwipo's at his best when he's playing beefy frontline tanks. I think he's incredible at that. Or even if he's playing something like Olaf, and the pressure is going to be on bot side and Massu and Quad. I made the mistake. If that's the dingers out there, that's the dinger. To be able to carry out those games. And they've been performing really well. And we're actually seeing also Inspired play more Ivern as well to be able to support that. So I think they're now a more complete team because of the point that you've just made.
I agree with all of these points, but I do want to point out that we glossed over one of the critical parts of that game where the Nautilus top, where they had this beautiful lane swap, and they threw the entire game by Bwipo, level 5 versus level 6, going past tower and then trading with this Ornn until he's almost dead and throwing the second clear for Inspired where he was about to take away Blabber's red buff and Krugs, which completely nullified most of this big advantage that they got in their lane swap. And so those are the mistakes I'm talking about are still there for FlyQuest that I don't think should be there. And they should be able to iron those out and be, one of our top S-tier teams. But that was a big mistake.
I remember when we were coming in to record the dive, Kobe talking about this. He's like, just like last night in my solo queue game, my top laner was trading and I was taking grubs. And it was like...
Because people have ruined Kobe's clears.
He's like, I was jungle capping this guy.
Oh my God.
I don't disagree because it's really frustrating, right? And I think that's why people get frustrated with this FlyQuest team or think that I've seen people being like, FlyQuest are super fraudulent. They're actually not as good as people think. And it's because a lot of the mistakes mistakes they make like that are really obvious. And especially with this composition, it did end up being really punishing, even with the positive play that I just pointed out that happened later in the game.
I'm going to ask you to pass the baton because I'm going to talk a little bit about some NRG stuff, as this was almost falling off me. One of the things NRG obviously had their incredible run last summer. You know, were able to win in summer, go to Worlds, and then beat G2, which was one of the biggest talking points around that. So I'm going to press play on this. We're just going to watch this because one of the biggest strengths that people always talked about NRG, you know, especially this NRG at Worlds, was how coordinated they were, how they're always on the same page. They have the same idea. They all commit to the play. This was really their greatest strength. And when you look at this turn off the Baron, everyone peeling at the exact same time here, trying to come in, trying to attack all at the same time, you know, looking for these plays, it always felt like it was 5 players controlled by one mind, right? They're always on the same page. They're always looking for these same plays. And it really allowed them to become so much greater, I think, than the sum of their parts, right? Individually, people were not saying that this was, you know, the best players from the region. They weren't the guys who were all winning all pro and so on. And the problem is, now when you contrast that to how they're looking this split, this is a team that is looking very, very fractured, right? And this is something that they've kind of fallen away from, and it's something I really want to see them get back to. So this was really, really obvious, I think, when we were watching the series last week, even just from one game. I pulled a couple different clips where they're clearly on different pages. They're playing Sejuani, Yone, and Rumble. You have to be really coordinated on the top side. It's all about pulling off dives. It's all about being on the same target when you're going in the back line. But whether it's a difference in how you want to play the game or a difference in, you know, ideas or targets or a lack of communication, this was really something that was problematic. So we see here, this is TL looking for the initial engage here over onto Huhi. Palafox is looking to come down and collapse, and we see that Contractz, he's in the Lilting Lullaby, but he wants to come up and they want to look to collapse as well. The problem comes in, you know, who are we actually selecting as the target? No one really here is communicating, it seems like, on NRG. So as we see it, Palafox is actually going to go in. He's ulting over on one target. At the same time, Contractz, not only is he ulting in towards Sion, he's actually used his flash to do this as well. So he's flashing over onto the AD carry while Palafox is committing onto a different target. And watch how much damage initially is done over onto Sion. So Sion loses about half his health. Then Contractz says, okay, my mid laner is going over on Umpty. Now I have to actually peel off and try to get over on Umpty. So they're going to try to get in onto him. As we roll the clip forward, they do try to kind of bail this out, but look how low he actually gets. Umpty is down incredibly low. Imagine if that 50% damage that was done to Sion were both on Sion, he instantly dies, or Umpty instantly dies, how different this fight can actually look. So this is, again, one of these situations, and tragically, Umpty actually ends up living. He doesn't even go down. It's multiple kills given over to APA. Here's another situation. This one I thought was maybe even kind of more egregious as far as like the communication. We had Palafox, he was down in bot lane. So Palafox is down here, he's shown on the wave. He clearly wants to finish up this wave, he wants to base, he has a lot of gold to spend. You can see he's just sitting on components where most people are already kind of done their first items. NRG is over on grubs. And again, it's one of these things where they need to be talking about what the plan is gonna be. They need to be on the same page because they're trying to pull off this composition where they're looking for dive in towards the backline. They're looking for these plays. You'll notice he's still basing. He's not actually going to look to TP, so he wants to base and buy. Impact, meanwhile, is running up the river, looking to go, and they're going to look for a fight, and they're going to look for it onto APA. So APA, obviously, you know, is a fairly vulnerable carry there. You know, he doesn't have one item completed. He's playing TP, so it's not like he has cleanse or heal or anything like that. So it does make sense, but they need to be saying either you need to TP straight from bot lane, Palafox, or we need to actually delay the play and wait for you. Instead, neither really happens. They drop the equalizer right onto APA. You can see the Sejuani ult coming over the top. But again, meanwhile, Palafox still hasn't even started his TP. So they drop the bullet time, they drop everything in on him. But as you can see, APA, not quite enough damage. He ends up surviving the fight. They don't have any more tools to get into the backline. Impact has actually already arrived to the fight first. You can see the Ornn ult just going out right down the middle. Could be able to start that up. Just now the TP is actually starting to arrive, so Palafox arrives just now, but all your tools have been expended. APA is safe in the backline. You have an Ivern there, which makes it even more important that you're coordinated on these plays. And again, as a result, APA is going to be free firing in the backline. They run over the fight. And to make matters worse, I think Palafox tries to get something out of what is already kind of a doomed fight. He goes back in, he ends up getting locked down, he dies for free as well. And this has just been something that has been pretty consistent for NRG throughout this split, unfortunately. They really need to make sure that they're on the same page, that they're committing to the same plays. This is something that I think they've kind of lost in this split compared to last year. So I really want to see them get back to that peak that we saw from the Worlds and we saw from them last summer. We know how good these players can be, but they have to be on the same page. They have to be committing to the same plays, especially when you're going up as a big underdog.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's especially important when you're picking compositions like this as well, right? Because especially with the second one, the MF comp, like everything really, really needs to be synced. Otherwise, as you can see from TL's comp, they can just kite back and then like kill you with damage. Like their carries are completely protected. It happened several times in that game where Ivern would come in with like a clutch shield and either Sion or APA would survive. And they were so out of sync. It was, like you said, it was just really frustrating and kind of sad to see given what we know these players are capable of.
Yeah, it's really perplexing because like last split, their entire, and I mean last year mostly, last year going into that G2 series, what we kind of praised this team on was their constructive feedback system. They were like the whole meme about them arguing and like having long reviews and all these things, but they would all ultimately be constructive because so they can make those fights happen. They were a team that can have chaotic elements of their games, and a lot of it was based off the fact that they were on the same page. And the fact that that's not happening anymore is really weird.
Yeah, I think NRG were at their peak when Contractz ganks were insane. You remember them at Worlds? And he was just popping off, looked like the best jungler in the world, ganking top, successful kills for Dhokla, ganking all over for Palafox, constantly camping mid lane, getting them these early leads. And then he also put so much pressure on side lanes once they opened up the map and got the first towers. And so you'll see a big difference in these two types of junglers. I think NRG will be at their best if Contractz gets to do something with ganks, with like buy buffs and stuff like that. Whereas Inspired, you know him, he is going to be heavy farming. He is going to be looking to carry those team fights for FlyQuest.
And we'll see if Contractz can get back to that. But in case you missed it, you can now subscribe to the LCS Twitch channel, unlocking emotes and other features like access to a vote on exclusive pro view VODs throughout Discord. So if you're a sub, make sure to get in on that vote now. But before that, I caught up with both coaches ahead of today's series. Let's take a look. Hey everyone, Ezreal here with ThinkArt and NukeDuck ahead of today's playoff series. NukeDuck, I'm going to come to you first. You guys coming into playoffs as one of the favorites. Obviously, didn't end up getting the bye, but how are you feeling about your chances in playoffs?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think we had a bit rough series against C9, but we played like an early game team comp and we kind of failed to snowball, but we still didn't get blown out. So I'm not feeling too bad about it, but we have to play good now. So yeah, I can't make too many more mistakes.
Absolutely. So obviously not the split I think that you guys maybe wanted to have, but when people think of NRG, they think back to last summer and the miracle run that you guys had there, winning the title and the incredible performance that you had at Worlds. Is that something that you guys can kind of like draw inspiration from, or something that you can learn from, to take into this playoff run?
It's definitely a fact that it doesn't matter at this point whether you're 3rd seed or 6th seed. Like, we're in the same spot right now. Whether FlyQuest or us win, like, it is what it is. Normal split doesn't matter anymore. So we're definitely just feeling like the past doesn't matter anymore. It's all about being confident, playing well, and whichever team shows up today, that's just who's moving on, and that's it.
Is there, anything that you think, you really are trying to focus on changing from the regular season into playoffs? Something that in particular that you've been focusing on as far as improving?
In general, it's just being more connected. I think overall we have a lot of creative players and a lot of talent in regards to how we want to play skirmishes, but the most important thing is understanding like which zone we actually want to fight in, which zone we're contesting and at what time. So for us, that's kind of the main thing, is just getting on the same page with stuff like that.
Awesome. So for you, obviously you guys were in the finals in Spring Split, didn't end up winning there. Is there anything that you take from that playoff run, that you would want to change, maybe coming into Summer Split?
Yeah. So I think we improved a lot during the last playoffs, and then we were like okay facing against TL. I think we kind of crumbled. So like our goal is mainly to like keep our like creative play style and stuff like that, even when the pressure is high, and not like just default yeah, just to play too scared and then like not play our game, and then we usually lose against good teams if that happens.
Absolutely. So new patch for playoffs. Obviously, we've seen one series so far. Is there anything that you think, you know, is kind of exciting about the new patch, or is it kind of more business as usual?
Still kind of business as usual, but I just think always new patches are good because now we get to kind of set a new kind of meta in terms of what works for us, and we are always more confident with certain styles and certain picks, and whenever there's a new patch, we're pretty excited to be able to try out if we can kind of emulate certain styles that fit us a little bit better.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much to both of you, and good luck today in the series. All right, well, we're getting down to it. It's time for predictions ahead of the series.
Are there any surprises?
Raz, you're rubbing your hands over there. Raz is looking like he's chomping at the bit.
Usually I do this when there's going to be a surprise happening. There's none. There's no surprise. I'm praying for a competitive series. I really am. Like, the problem is I just feel like FlyQuest right now are battling to be a top 3 seeded team, like as in a top 2. They're battling to be a top 2, and I think they can very easily be in the finals, whereas NRG are really struggling at some of the fundamentals, and they need to show something beautiful today.
Okay, then do you think this series will be more or less one-sided than yesterday?
Less.
Actually, less, yeah.
How could it be more?
Yeah.
Yesterday was extreme.
Yes, actually, it's going to be less.
Yesterday is difficult to come close to that game 3 in particular.
But you're all 3-0s.
Yeah, but well, what are you? Yours is
Where
up
the
there.
hell are you, buddy?
Well. I think we need to consider a few factors when considering some predictions.
Here comes the faithful pitch.
Factor number 1, it is a new patch. New energy in playoffs. Palafox has mages to play in the mid lane. He has been abysmal, I'll give you that. But not today.
The genius midfielder.
Today is going to be big improvements. Also, Contractz got some buffs too. Plus, Contractz, as we said earlier, when NRG were at their best, he was a gank machine. At Worlds versus G2, masterclass from him. Ganks in mid lane, absolutely dumpstering them, getting them leads, and then once they get into the side lanes, also pressuring them there. And energy.
Did you prepare all this?
The most important factor is actually not this. It is actually when you doubt them the most is when they are at their strongest. They upset Cloud9 to win in Summer.
That's true. I did not
The
bet
doubt
on
is
them
at
to
an
beat
all-time
Cloud9.
high right now. The doubt is at an all-time high. Nobody believes in energy.
So, do you think they're going to win?
Of course not. FlyQuest 3-0. Take it away, casters.
Boo! Boo!
He got smoked.
Headshot. Stop.
This season, we've heard a lot of talk in the LCS. Anyone can say they've got what it takes to step onto this stage and put their opponents in the dirt. But only the best can back it up when it really matters. And it really matters now in the LCS playoffs. It's a chance to show that your greatest achievement wasn't just a fluke. That you're not washed. That you're the heroes, not the villains. That the lights aren't too bright. That you deserve to be called Super Team. That you just might be the LCS GOATs. He's watching out, baby. I like what you're getting with a full team engagement.
I will not back down. If you hit me, I'll hit you back.
What season is it right now? Big season.
We're going 2-0 them very easily.
He kind of like stole my whole flow.
welcome back to the Summer 2024 LCS Playoffs. Today, a FlyQuest hungry for international redemption will start their journey towards Worlds. Their opponents? None other than the NRG team who defied all expectations just 1 year ago to make the run themselves. Only one goes on in the upper bracket. FlyQuest versus NRG starts right now. I'm CaptainFlowers here to bring you the action today, joined by some guests from the lounge. I got Jatt and Emily Rand here today for the full best of 5. How y'all doing?
Let's go. I'm thinking that we could have more games than everybody just predicted, because every time you see 3-0 across the board could be when NRG is most dangerous, and it's this weird series where NRG did win the split just a year ago, but they're the lowest seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So the recency tells you that they're not a threat, but the history tells you that they are. So wrapping your head around that possibility can be difficult for FlyQuest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, what was your prediction today, Jatt? You said we might have more games, so I want to know if you predicted a 3.
I didn't put numbers in my eventual thing, but if I were to send a prediction
that
right
is
now,
a cop-out.
It would actually be FlyQuest 3-1.
Okay.
Just because I think that the level of volatility that FlyQuest has shown throughout the entire year means that they're, like, especially Bwipo, he tries to push the limits every single time. We were having this discussion earlier about Bwipo and what level we think he's at this year. I actually think he's been quite good because all of his most visible screw-ups and ints have been from winning positions. So he's getting these leads because he's good, and then he's throwing them because of the bad things about his game. But that just means overall, I think he's still playing at a very high level. It just means that he has the ability to have those whoopsies.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, as we take a look at draft, I think it's interesting that FlyQuest have removed the Yone. NRG was playing a few Yone comps. Last week, Ezreal pointed out how they really weren't able to coordinate on those team fights, but still off the table. And then the Ivern against Contractz and the MF. Most notably, Sejuani is still up for Contractz if FlyQuest decide not to pick it. And that's just been a power pick for him, even though he did lose on it to TL last week. And then Senna and Lilia are the big two that I see removed from NRG that are pretty interesting, as well as the Renekton. So we won't see an LPL B1 Renekton that is
the classic
terrorizing China right now.
All right, well, no Renektons. The Yone, the Ivern, the Misfortune, all banned out by FlyQuest. We've got NRG taking out the Lilia, the Senna, and that Renekton. Let's see the Ezreal locked in first for FlyQuest and Massu.
And to Emily's point, I would hope to see the Sejuani come out fairly early. I think because of FlyQuest's priority on the other 3 bans, it's just something that they're willing to let through. I don't expect FlyQuest to necessarily take it just because of how fully committed they've been to the style of Inspired getting to farm as much as he wants.
Yeah.
Not just fully committed, but also super comfortable, right? Like, Inspired has looked so good on these picks. And instead, we see the Azir Ashe coming out. Ashe has also been something that has been successful for NRG previously. And then the Azir coming back for Palafox is the big one. You're taking that away from Quad, who's also really good at it, and nice shout out to Flowers. But
hell yeah, dude. I always appreciate
we talked about Palafox and how he has really, really struggled this year. He has looked good on his ear in the past.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because if we remember yesterday's series with Dignitas and 100 Thieves kind of went back to mages now that they've been buffed as opposed to the AD carry mid-meta that has plagued all of summer, and they looked a lot better on it. I'm curious if NRG will be able to cast a similar sort of spell here with the Azir back in mid, the Ashe you also mentioned. Over on FlyQuest, though, it's Inspired on the buy.
Yeah. And he, as much as we joke around, okay, CEO, full clear, Inspired has looked so good on these AP jungle. He is also a very good Vi player. And the Orianna coming in for Quad is also a really good combination there. Now we see the Wukong coming out of NRG.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this is a playoff pivot. I'm going to focus on FlyQuest first, only because if I look at the champions that they themselves have actually played in the Summer Split, Quad played 20 of his 21 mid-games on 80 carries. 10 Corki, 6 Trist, 4 Lucian, and 1 Aurelion Sol. So this is only the second mage he's actually played in Summer, and then it will be the first Vi pick for Inspired in Summer as well, even if he's got a long history with the champion in prior seasons.
Yeah, and I mean, Quad played Azir back when he was in LCK as well.
And
he played it a ton on FlyQuest Challengers.
Probably more known as a mage player before this exact split, so it should be comfortable for him. It just hasn't been what we've seen from him this split.
Okay, so we have what we would assume to be marksmen, mid laners, and junglers for both sides. Means I need to see top laners, I need to see supports, and I'm going to see a lot of both here in the second half of the bans, with Rumble banned out by FlyQuest, Leona banned out by NRG. Do they want to double target the support role here? Yep, looks like they do. The Bard, final ban for NRG.
And I'm curious to see where this goes depending on FlyQuest's final ban here, because NRG could also go with something like a Kalista Ashe if they want to do a really strong 2v2 bot pivot. We know that FBI and Huhi have also really liked running those lanes together as well, not just on NRG, but in the past on 100 Thieves, as we see the Renata coming out.
Definitely trying to block whatever the most bully partner would be for Ashe. And looking through the list, Nautilus would be up, but I don't think that Nautilus Ashe is necessarily the combo you'd want. If they wanted to go really defensive, they'd go Braum. But I do like the engage option for them as they're long hovering this, which usually means they'll lock it in.
Okay, Rakan locked in for NRG, so now you've got a big potential wombo combo engage with Rakan on the grand entrance, right, going in with the quickness. You've got the Wukong for the Cyclone. You've got the Azir that can be able to start it off with a shuffle. There's a lot of go buttons here on NRG.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what they are going to save for Dhokla as R5, as we see the hover over the Poppy, potentially for Bwipo, but Cassante is kind of the classic blind for so many of our top players, including Bwipo, and that's what he's going to go with here.
I would have really liked to see that Poppy, though. Like, Poppy into Wukong, Rakan, Azir just feels downright dirty, but the Cassante, I can't really fault you for it. He's been overpowered since he was released. It's a really strong champion in pro, so that's for Bwipo. Last pick of the draft, though, coming up here. What do they want to pair with that Ezreal for Massu down there? Busio's going to lock the Karma, so a lot of poke here in the bottom lane for FlyQuest.
Yep, it is a classic lane, the Karma Ezreal, because it can get shove against almost everything, so they're using that to try and counter the immediate laning power of the Ashe. So even though NRG has the Ashe, it should be FlyQuest who's able to get pushed in the bot lane.
Yeah, and it also sets up a really easy, good lane for Inspired to play around immediately early. I am wondering if we see a shift from him. As we see the Sion locked in from Dhokla, I am wondering if NRG are going to go for a swap, especially since Sion is so good in those. But with this pushing lane, I do want to point out Inspired has something really easy that he can play on. They stack that wave. They do an early dive on bot side. I'll be curious to see if FlyQuest go for it.
I will as well. I think even if NRG isn't expecting to swap, the Sion would put them in a good situation if the swap happens. I also do think it's a little bit funny that a long conversation was had between Bwipo and Sniper about Sion prior to Pro's recording last week, and now he's having it played against him by Dhokla, who has not played Sion yet this split on stage.
What was that conversation like?
It was a lot about Bwipo saying he will play Sion because of the strengths that the Sion brings and because it can, you know, build on his strengths as a player and how certain players need to play to their strengths, and Sniper shouldn't be playing Sion. You could have something similar to that on Dhokla, who's actually been pretty strong at either range tops or bruiser tops or more carry tops actually playing Sion. It'll be very interesting to see how this Sion works out for Dhokla.
Well, I was going to say, we've seen those in solo queue. I'm not sure if we've necessarily seen as many from Dhokla on the LCS stage, but I know he has been practicing them.
I'm ready for this, man. FlyQuest versus NRG, number 3 from the regular split, going up against number 6, the lowest spot to make it into playoffs. NRG have a lot to prove if they want to have a chance here in summer 2024 on that quest to Worlds. FlyQuest want to come in, start this one hot. Remember that our first series in playoffs just yesterday was a 3-0. Either one of these teams would love to repeat it. A lot of people are expecting FlyQuest to be able to do just that, but let's see what they've been cooking here for the past week. Just taking a look at what everything's set up with. You do see your standard teleports for all of our solo laners. Cleanse for Massu does want to be able to get away from those arrows should they ever connect, and the Rakan engages going forward. So a little bit more combat power for the summoner spells for NRG's bottom lane duo.
Yeah, and we see This ward here being placed down, that's kind of the one that spotted out FlyQuest last time when they were going for the swap. On top side, we saw Huhi put down his ward, but now it looks like he's going down towards bot side where FBI already is, so swap probably not coming through.
No one's committed completely to top lane yet, though, with Dhokla waiting in case there is some type of late invade. A lot of mind games going on here. Moving. Well, they saw Bwipo's Cassante on that ward. You can see the pings moving out, and FBI is slow walking up to the top lane, so the swap engaged.
All right, and we'll see how this works for NRG. This gives me a chance to talk about lane swaps as like the only person in the LCS apparently that likes talking about them.
Don't be modest, Emily. You're like the only person in the world that enjoys.
I can't be because Kelsey also exists. But I think the big thing for me when you're looking at, okay, how do teams deal with a lane swap? Yes, it's about keeping laners down, especially top laners, but it's also about mitigating mid pressure depending on where you want to send your top, about getting out of certain laning matchups, and we'll see how NRG handle this. They haven't always looked super comfortable in some of their swaps, whereas FlyQuest are, I would say them and TL are the two teams that are most comfortable with it.
One of the big things I always check at the start of lane swaps is how much experience the top laners can actually get. So when I'm looking at this, Bwipo has actually been able to get about half a level, and Dhokla's only now at about 2/3 of a level, while still at full health. So currently I'd say it's advantage Sion, but it will depend also on how big this wave stack can get and whether or not the top laner feels comfortable letting the wave crash or if they have to abandon it. So they've both gotten level 2 now. That's important for them.
They both have level 2, but look at Inspired. The Vi is down here in the bottom lane, looking to set up for the dive. Cannon Minion's going to soak most of the shots. Dhokla's still hanging around for now. They lock him up, beat him down. First blood over to Busio, and FlyQuest got that done easy.
But he is going to hit level 3 off these minions, and this is why we see Sion do pretty well in these lane swap situations, is because he still can get XP after death. And he'll be able to TP back and also get this wave that Massu and Busio are pushing into turret.
Waves being pushed into turret. Up here on the top side, Bwipo is facing no sort of threat, similar to what his opponent did. Yeah, FBI and Huhi are still going to be annoying, poking at him underneath this turret, but he'll farm up as much as he can. Still doesn't have quite as much farm compared to the Sion there. As you can see, Contractz making his way into the top side river. Might just go for the full jungle invade here, but the control ward placed down by FlyQuest's side on the brush of their own blue is going to let them know what Contractz is up to. And you can see some pings coming out from NRG.
And this is the other trade. Like, Contractz is a full clear and now counter jungling because Inspired spent the time to kill that Sion. So he's still not quite having smite. Can Inspire get in and steal it?
Well, not when Huhi's around. I like the rotation here from NRG support, recognizing that there might be a challenge for this, wanting to make sure that NRG gets the maximum amount of punish for that bot lane dive.
Yeah, and NRG are not doing so bad in this swap. I actually expected FlyQuest to be able to take advantage of them more, especially since Quad's lane has been relatively untouched, right? He's kind of had push in this lane up until now. And that's kind of another underrated thing on lane swaps is like how much you are able to harass and get a good lane for your mid laner.
And I think they might be going for more down bottom. Inspire doesn't have anything to do other than dive the Sion once again.
Here we go. Busio with another root. Gonna tank the maximum amount of turret shots, gets out of the way in time, and Massu gets the last bullet. Inspired ain't gonna die to the counter attack while NRG gets one back here on the top lane. Tier 1 dive. It's a 2-to-1 overall, a 1-for-1 play as the top laners just have bullseyes on their foreheads here in his lane swap.
And then also a small note that the early game death timers are slightly higher, so Bwipo's gonna lose a little bit more before teleporting back, but just trying to actually take stock of who's winning this lane swap. Emily, what do you think?
I mean, I think NRG have actually done a pretty good job. Dhokla is in a good spot where he should be able to get level 6 ahead of Bwipo. Actually, no, Bwipo's catching up now.
They're both just level 5. They have the same level of experience. Let's watch this dive one more time because there's no Sion here, but Bwipo has held his TP this entire time, so he thinks it's not the end of the world if he dies, but it's just a very clean dive there from NRG. FBI is the range champion in no danger of dying to the turret.
Yeah, and as we see in live, Dhokla is still getting harassed off here. The big thing for me, honestly, coming out of this swap, is that Bwipo is now slightly ahead in experience, but then also the mid lane has remained untouched, and quad is looking quite good, which has given Inspired a pretty good idea of where everyone has been on the map, right? And that's also another underrated thing. As we see, Contractz, because they have prio on this, or they have control over this top side, he'll be able to pick up these grubs looking uncontested, while Inspired will go for the first straight.
Exactly. The contest isn't direct. You're just saying, all right, we'll handshake these. I'll take Dragon, you take Grubs. No problem there. Dhokla still just trying to enjoy the sights, sounds, and smells of the Rift here in his lane swap game as he walks around and knows that he is on the wrong side of the map. FlyQuest has total control, but NRG might just look to make another dive here on the top side. That is a level 6 Cassante. It makes things very, very dangerous. So it looks like FBI and Huhi are just going to continue mining plates away from the turret while Contractz steals the jungle.
And this is really where FlyQuest are pulling ahead, right? Because Massu and Busio have been dirty farming this entire time. Bwipo has already hit level 6. NRG was not able to dive him. And once again, FlyQuest still have complete mid prio from quad continuously pushing Palafox in this mid lane. And they're going to get first turret off of it, too.
Right, yeah, remember the bottom lane turrets are so much squishier than the top lane turrets, specifically to try to dissuade these types of plays, these types of strategies. And FlyQuest are getting so much punishment on these structures for NRG. This bottom lane tier 1 nearly almost killed already. We're only 7.5 minutes into the game, and Massu will be left to take care of that while Inspired and Busio still both hang around. Inspired just continuing to clean out this enemy jungle quadrant, while Busio guarantees nobody else from NRG is going to make an appearance. And it's first turret, 7 minutes and 45 seconds into the game for FlyQuest.
And this generally means that's the big win of the swap. It was an interesting swap to me because of how long they stayed in it. There was no swap back around the level 5 or 6 point for the top laners. And as Emily's showing right now, it's grown to a 2-level advantage for Bwipo. The only thing that this cost FlyQuest was Inspired's farm and level in comparison to Contractz. He's 10 CS down, not the end of the world. He also just hit level 6. It's not the position Inspired is used to being in, but he's going to take it for a 2,000 gold advantage for his team.
Yeah, and if you look at the lanes across the board too, right? Like, they're almost all blue except for that jungle matchup that you pointed out, Jatt. And FlyQuest have had such a better idea of, again, where to be on the map in this swap. They've known where Contractz is going to be, more importantly. So he hasn't been able to...
Oh man,
Dhokla might
Dhokla
be dead again.
One more hit might just kill him. Massu, look at the cooldown on True Shot Barrage. It's not quite there.
There it is.
There it is. One more second, might be able to find that one. Okay, he's not going to take the shot. I thought for sure he would just go fishing with it. But
yeah, at the very least, he could have interrupted a recall. But he didn't think Dhokla was going to die to that one, and he's fine just sending him back to base and maybe getting his teleport out, which comes right now. Watch out mid. He dodged that? Yes, he did.
All right. 2,000 gold lead, not feeling too bad at all. 9 minutes into the game here for FlyQuest. You already mentioned that, you know, the only person ahead in gold is Contractz there in the jungle, but remember that he was the one who got the 1 kill that NRG picked up, and that gold lead that he has is just barely more than the total gold for the kill, so it's not like this extra farm has really given him an economic advantage. Maybe they can get something off of a crazy Wukong play, but it just feels like FlyQuest are the clear winners here in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I know we talk about Inspired, CEO, full clear, all of that. We talk about Contractz as jungler and what we want to see from him, which is him interacting with his lanes, right? But outside of that top lane dive, he went in, he was able to get a few camps. There was a point in time where I thought he might wrap around onto quad because quad was so far pushed up, didn't end up going for that either. And it's been Inspired, actually, who's been able to help out his team a lot more on the map.
They're playing really well, and Inspired throughout this entire split, as he's actually just led all junglers in CS at 14 by a pretty wide margin, he just says he wants to play the correct and best way to play the game. And we are on a new patch here in 14-16, so I'm going to be really curious to the rest of this game, the rest of the series, and the rest of this playoffs, if FlyQuest is going to change their read on the meta, because they were the most consistent in being AD carry mid, AP farming Inspired, and this different style is working quite well for them for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd say they already have, right? Like both of these teams seem to have fully embraced the patch. I can't reiterate enough as we see if FlyQuest are going to contest for these grubs or not.
Yeah, NRG got the first pot of grubs now. They've got the first one in the second pot as well, so they're guaranteed to have the grubling spawns. Arrow flies out. They find the connect onto Inspire, but he gets himself back away. Now Dhokla's going to be taking some damage as Contractz needs to disengage here with the decoy. They wanted to try to get in for the flank attack, but it ain't going to work out because Palafox is picked off and shut down before he can do a damn thing. FlyQuest dismantled him, and they'll take the last couple of grubs.
And that fight was all about the angles. Palafox tried to approach for the flank, but he got collapsed on first. The other side of the fight wasn't actually going incredibly for FlyQuest. Quad Shockwave, as you'll see, only hits the Sion, but let's watch the angle with which Palafox actually comes into the fight.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is that Palafox is coming in. Bwipo is already there.
So fast.
He's already on top of him, right? So he completely cannot do anything, removes him entirely from the fight. And meanwhile, Busio and Massu are actually putting on quite a good amount of poke damage.
Yeah.
Again, when you're looking at what they can do, they can just kite back.
Good job.
They get to go bot 1%. Good call for the TP.
Any flashes?
Quad. Right back to live, though, and a pick on Quad is desperately needed for NRG after that river fight. I think y'all called it perfectly, man. There was just no way for Palafox to even play it from that TP position.
Yeah, and I also like that the team called Bwipo to teleport in, because Bwipo was happy just taking that wave. Would love to see how Quad got picked off there. Flash and teleport up, probably a little bit greedy since everything had been going so well for FlyQuest. They were getting free turret plates up top there, but that pick is going to lead to this Drake for NRG and definitely slow the FlyQuest snowball.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slight window for NRG, right?
Yeah, he just got caught hand in the cookie jar at Raptors there.
Hey, I said maybe the Wukong with his little 300 gold lead could find something. I guess they found Orianna.
And they will get the Drake off of this, which does stop like FlyQuest early Drake stacking, right? And they were able to get 4 grubs with Fly taking the other 2 off of that team fight. But then you see only 1 turret plate on that top tier 1 for FlyQuest. They just have a much better map state right now. And additionally, I mean, Bwipo is so far ahead of Dhokla coming out of this swap, and that has not evened out since.
Yeah, and I will say, we mentioned this last week with FlyQuest as well, and we talked about Bwipo. When he is ahead, the team does extremely well. When he is behind, they're actually quite poor. We checked these stats. This is ahead at 14 minutes for all their players, and the one that is most determinant of a FlyQuest victory defeat is Bwipo. So the fact that the result of this swap has put him in a 2-level advantage and a pretty big goal lead over Dhokla means he really has a vision of how to play the rest of the game out. You can see just 1v1 taking this turret and extending his lead.
Yeah, and now he's even going to get the plate and the turret before plating falls, right?
Yeah.
Too. So again, one of the reasons why I did not only favor FlyQuest in this matchup, but was looking ahead at how they could potentially really contest TL and C9 is because they are good in these swap situations.
Yeah.
And you can see how thoughtful they are about where they need to be on the map.
Ooh.
Okay, that was quite a big hit onto FBI, and unfortunately it hits right as everybody is squaring up for the stare down around the Rift Herald pit. Now, NRG, yeah, they've done a pretty good job coming out slightly ahead on neutral objectives so far, but it's about the only thing that they can really claim has gone their way so far in this game, down 3,500 gold. They can't really afford to keep slipping further and further behind because FlyQuest is tightening their grip on this game, and it looks like Quad and Inspired are just going to go ahead, start up the Herald. They don't even care about this ward in the pit. They don't even need to sweep out to check it. It looks like NRG's going no contest on this one.
And I can see why, because if you think about how they would actually try and contest, sure, they'd walk up one of these corridors, but who would do it that doesn't just die? Because the Ezreal is extremely fed off to the races. I drew that line poorly. Even the Sion tank, just armor, so very easy for a QW from the Orianna to poke him out. Just the people that would need, like the Sion actually really needs gold for this comp to function at all. Otherwise, they're going to get poked out extremely easily.
Yeah, and it's not like we're talking about armor of, oh, he's just got a Sunfire cape. You know, it's shoes and a chain vest. The rest of it is starter item junk that you can buy when you spawn into the game.
At 15 minutes.
He's not feeling super tanky on this pick right now.
He may as well be a support Sion at this point.
Yeah, it's not feeling great there for Big Dokes up in the top lane as the Herald is summoned in mid. There's still plenty of HP left in the tier 1 turret. But Massu is going to drive this thing straight into it, spawn a couple of little extra grub babies. Not enough damage from the charge to force this thing down immediately. Massu gets hit by the arrow, but not too worried about that one. Dhokla wanted to engage for the follow-up here with the ulti, but the threat of the shockwave forces the Sion to flash out or face certain doom.
And that's another thing we've kind of been talking about with NRG not necessarily being on the same page. If, as soon as that arrow hits, Dhokla should already be coming in if they want to go for that play, right? But then, as Jatt already pointed out, FlyQuest are so far ahead, especially Massu in this bot lane can do so much poke damage, and he and Busio can just kite back out while dealing damage to you. It's going to be really hard to get in on them.
I mean, look at the itemization difference, right? You got tier 2 boots on both, but Trinity Force and a 3/4 stacked Manamune, which will be Muramana here in a minute or two, right? Versus Static Shiv Ashe. One of these is going to do a lot more damage over the course of a team fight than the other is. And if you're NRG, it's hard to even figure out an angle where you can make up for that gap.
Especially because the angle there was land the Ashe arrow perfectly onto the carry, but you don't even get a summoner spell because Busio already has Mikhail's. Yep. So good luck getting the right engage. It's basically Huhi has to land some 3 or 4 man with the Wukong coming in, but if the vision gets set up properly by FlyQuest, they're not going to let that happen. Let's see how this dragon plays out, because the way when you are a team that gets poked out like this, the way you generate fights is around objectives. But with no lanes being pushed in, it then gets even harder. So FlyQuest are in a very strong winning position here in NRG. They have to get a little bit frisky.
Can I just say I'm having a lot of fun, like drawing minion waves out and
like
great. Talking about lane swaps. I don't know if anyone else
is your kind of series,
fun,
Emily.
I'm having a great time, guys.
We're there. I'm happy for your happiness. I'm not happy for a lane swap, but I'm happy that my friend is happy. We can have some wholesome happiness sharing here. But
I think you're going to be happy. There's going to be a fight.
This does make me happy. We got some PvP coming up next here on the menu as Bwipo has found the angle if NRG tries to commit to this Drake to make that pincer happen. NRG knows it, though. They don't want to walk up into this. They know how far behind they are. They know that if they take a fight, it has got to be decidedly in their favor. Quad and Inspire taking the chance, going after the tier 1 here in the mid lane instead as Busio tries to get away. The engage from NRG ain't doing a whole lot here just yet. Huhi might just die instead as Bwipo continues kiting and fighting right on back. Contractz on the front line is going to be killed off first. Massu goes on a killing spree, and the cavalry has arrived. NRG are dropping like flies, and FlyQuest got the fly swatter all day. Inspired takes out FBI, and he goes straight back in for the objective. Quad is still ready to keep this one going, and Huhi's ready to go to hell home. He's trying to get away to the safety of the lane, the safety of the minions, but there's no safety left, man. Busio sped up. He is going all in. Alcove Gaming will not save you. Run, little Rakan, run. Just think about Zaya. Think about home. Try to think about something happy because the fight ain't that. 9-2, 7,000 gold lead FlyQuest.
And that is what we've been waiting for, Flowers. But this is the fight that started it. The 2-man in the mid lane, bursting the turret and immediately killing Palafox. You cannot flash a Vi or a Vi Orianna. They get the kill while the rest of the team was winning and holding off into 3v4.
Yeah, the big thing here is, again, while this play is happening mid and they're getting that kill onto Palafox, when Contractz goes in, again, Massu untouched. He just escapes out here. Even when Huhi goes in, he takes way too much damage. They're able to burn down Contractz first. Quad and Inspired are now coming off around the back of this fight. They get Dhokla. It's so difficult to get onto FlyQuest carries, and they're able to just mop up this fight afterwards. I should clear out my random scribble there. Sorry about that.
That guy on screen right now with the big smile, he played that fight so well. The 3v4 as the Cassante, he blocked the Sion ult, he tanked all the damage, he didn't even die by the end of it. So he's got 1-1-3 on the scoreline, lowest CS of any of the carries on his team, but he's playing his style of game, which is extremely successful in Game 1 for FlyQuest.
And you know, you're kind of making the case for the point that you argued earlier, Jatt, in that yes, Bwipo has had a couple of
pants on head moments so far in Summer Split, but they only happen because he earned those pants in the first place, winning his lanes and having good plays to be in that position. So far in this one, it's all coming up Bwipo, it's all coming up FlyQuest, and I feel like if you're NRG, we're past the point of strategy. It's a religious matter at this point. You're just praying that they mess up.
I just like that analogy they're using where he earned the pants that he could then put on his head and not wear correctly. But I do think, again, when you're looking at like, okay, are FlyQuest going to be able to adapt to this meta? Well, we've already seen Inspired be super successful on the Vi.
Yeah.
Quad, back when he was in LCK, when he was Solka, and also on FlyQuest Challengers, played mages. He was primarily a mage player. He's very comfortable in this meta. And Massu and Busio are playing something that we've kind of already seen them be successful with, right? So they look completely comfortable, even with most of their success this summer coming from AD mid, AP jungle.
I agree. There's a very small victory here for NRG getting that one objective bounty, whereas FlyQuest doesn't trade it back for anything meaningful at the moment. So little bits of guerrilla warfare like that from NRG would keep this game a little bit open, but it's that fine line, Flowers, where NRG is wondering how much they want to come back in this game versus think about and discuss game 2. Because
you have to...
it is not in a good state at the moment.
Thought economy is what we're talking about. Bwipo might have found himself caught. He wants to go all out. He's got a little bit of Omni-Vamp. He's got his jungler right next to him. And NRG's got no hope of taking down the widest Bwipo here in the top lane, here on Cassante, here to kick off the playoffs. The dude won't die.
Just Cassante things, no problem. He's almost 2K ahead now of the Sion. They'll easily get mid-turret off of this. I did think that was going to be a moment where we're like, oh no, he's gone too far in, or he's been caught out on the Cassante. We've seen it before in some of their more recent games. Not this time.
Nope, pants
he's
on
too
properly.
far ahead.
Pants still properly on.
Buttoned up, belt fastened to the right loop.
Everything's good.
Having a great time here in this first game.
They're not falling off this time.
Nope, those pants are securely fastened. So is this 8,500 gold lead. Not even 23 minutes into the game for FlyQuest. I feel like it's all just about how fast they can wrap this one up now. FBI lands an arrow to interrupt the recall on Massu, but I mean, plus 200 damage to your champ damage stat at the end of the game. That's about all you're getting from that one.
Very true. Just delays the recall. Still a control word in the pit for FlyQuest, so the risk of a Baron rush by NRG is not there. Let's think about this NRG team as a whole, though, and after this fight here, where Palafox again thinks he might have something going, but Inspired and Bwipo just absolutely demolish the mid and top lane. Bwipo's
oh! Just, hey, mods, we have subscriber emotes now. Go back and screenshot that. That is an emote. We need that.
Emote.
That is perfect. Bwipo thinking. Bwipo, all sorts of ways we could turn that one into some content right there. As Palafox and Contractz do not want to be turned into content from FlyQuest social media channels, but I don't know if they're going to be able to stop it. Here comes a TP from Dhokla. The Sion ain't tanky. Inspired's here in the front line. They finally might be able to burst him down, but a 4-man shockwave into the follow-up for the Atofo strikes. FlyQuest might have lost one, but they're gonna make NRG rue the day they came to fight in this mid lane. FlyQuest with a 4-man push straight into the heart of the base.
Trying to keep the minions alive here, Quad, with the questionable teleport. They can't end off of this one because Palafox could clear that wave, but they'll just move back for the Drake.
They'll probably just go for Drake. But yeah, wow, what a combination from Quad and Bwipo, right? It ended up looking a little dicey, although another thing to point out is they do immediately turn onto Dhokla as soon as, Inspired backs off immediately. They turn onto Dhokla coming in to the TP. NRG members get grouped, which sets up the shockwave for Quad coming, and then Bwipo.
FBI catching the very end of that shockwave into the third strike from Bwipo there for the full knockback. At least the Mountain Drake, and now the setup for Baron. Inspire would be the only person they might try and pick again, but Steric's Gauge completed. Orianna, Karma Shields flying in. It takes a bit of a miracle to actually get a kill on him here.
Yeah.
Oh, look out.
I don't think
Look
this is
out.
going to take an entire miracle to get the kill on Dhokla, though. The Sion flashing back over the wall. He will stay alive for now. Vault Breaker ready from Inspired. A little bit more damage here into the big man in top lane. Might get a double Bwipo over the wall again with a massive engage. FBI is the first to die. Bwipo gets traded back this time, and Palafox has the shutdown. 1 for 1, but NRG's got some seriously injured health bars, and FlyQuest is taking over the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a positive play. I think it could have gone better for FlyQuest. Ideally, they'd want to take Baron off of this. Instead, I think they're just going to go for that Drake that they didn't end up taking earlier. But, you know, if Bwipo manages to live there, that's like a Baron and push to end.
Well, instead, you're just going to get your soul point 26 minutes into the game, about 9,000 gold ahead. Why not add another little bonus here on the FlyQuest performance in game number 1? And guys, this is kind of what I think everyone was predicting for this series thus far in this first game, with FlyQuest just dominating.
Yeah, lane swaps, map control, Bwipo being Bwipo. I feel like we've like checked off all the FlyQuest boxes, right?
And Massu continuing to improve throughout the year. I think Rookie of the Year votes are in for most, but we don't know who's actually won that award yet. I think Massu is definitely the front runner for it.
I voted for Massu. I will spoil my own vote.
Are you allowed to do that? They always tell me I can't.
Well,
Too
if
late.
I can't, I will get a talking to for it later, but I voted for Massu.
Wow.
It's been done. And this game would just strengthen your voting record, Flowers, because yes, part of this was the fact that they just had free time on the advantageous side of the lane swap, and because they had the extended lane swap, they could also get the first turret. But turning a 400 gold lead into a 3,800 gold lead isn't just because of the lane swap. It's because they've been playing this game out so incredibly well. The Mikhail's rush is for safety. I don't think Masu's had to use cleanse all game, but he just has it because
I actually can't
extra
remember
insurance.
him using it now, but
The only time he got hit,
may have had.
The only time he got hit by the arrow was the mid lane, where the Mikhail's was used on him instead. Huhi, that's the wrong base, dude. This is the wrong base. It's not yours. That's not. Okay, the execute at least. That's the biggest prize you can win in a moment like that.
Momentum.
Quad is coming after him like it's a survival horror game, and Huhi knows the only way out is to reset the console. As NRG, they're just trying to at least step up here a little bit, maybe try to step forward and challenge at the Baron. But the problem is, man, Huhi is one of your main engages, and he is dead. Contractz will not be allowed anywhere near the pit. He's got 40% HP, and Bwipo is just a brick wall to try to get through. Baron secured 28 minutes in, nice and clean for FlyQuest.
That's so tough because, as we saw from the picture-in-picture, Palafox was trying to get something, anything, right? And then potentially TP in, maybe if they got an advantageous spot. He's not even able to get that bot tier 2 off of cross-mapping. It's a really, really tough situation for NRG.
And that was pretty nice teamwork by FlyQuest. In terms of junglers that you don't want to flip Baron against, Contractz is at the top of the list. I think he's still either tied or one back of all-time LCS record for Baron steals, as Inspired is actually looking to end this game. Okay, backing up. But just the fact that Bwipo stood up front, Busio was shielding him and poking the small corridor, and then even Massu came around the top. There was literally no way in for NRG to steal that Baron. It's one of the safest Baron takes you'll ever see.
Yeah, and as we see, mid wave getting pushed in, top wave getting pushed in, bot now pushing up a little bit more, and we're going to see quad TPing in for this bot side push against all of NRG.
Slight criticism. I haven't loved Quad's last 2 TPs, Flowers.
A damning accusation coming out from Jatt for the mid laner of FlyQuest here in this first game. This might change everything as Massu, there's the cleanse we were talking about. Summoner spells used to get the FlyQuest AD carry away as Dhokla and Contractz try to put pressure onto the back line, but Quad is still staying alive and fighting him off. Contractz first to die. Dhokla gets away off to the side. Palafox running as the true shot barrage goes wide, and FBI and Huhi are still just scrambling, backpedaling, trying to clear distance between themselves and FlyQuest because Mystic Shot charges half a health bar per per transaction. FlyQuest are not done pushing. The mid lane inhibitor's about to die to the minions. There it goes. The next wave is ready here in bottom lane. Tier 2, blink and you'll miss it. That thing is gone. Quad has to make the long journey on foot all the way back to the fight, but it looks like FlyQuest is going to take their chance and reset.
They are making sure that the comeback is not possible here. That was the max safety play because Bwipo had a wave of Baron minions in mid lane, free inhibitor, free pressure on the turret. They probably would have won the 4v5, but he teleports anyway, just in case Contractz engaged was going to be bigger. And then the reason they recalled here rather than push for another inhib is that timer you see in the top right where Mountain Soul is going to be up in 24 seconds because they're going to get that too.
And I was gonna say, they have complete control over the spot side of the map.
Yeah, that timer lines up almost perfectly with their Baron buff. They're going to have that buff all the way until the dragon spawns, so it's impossible for NRG to try to get back any ground, try to get back any control over the rift before it happens. Here goes your red buff too, just to add insult to injury. And NRG, they'll at least grab a tier 1 up here in the top lane. Hey. Palafox will pick that up, but it's a drop in the ocean at this point of the game.
Yeah, and the more impressive thing, as we see if Bwipo and Inspired might want to go for Palafox again.
That was a Cassante moment right there.
I mean,
just gonna walk away from the Sion, go all out on him now. Inspired is finishing Gromp. He is more concerned about Gromp than he is about Palafox and Dhokla. Massu soloed the dragon.
He's truly become SOFM. I think the most impressive thing, as we see, people probably aren't going to die off this play, is again the setup from FlyQuest on, like you pointed out, Jatt, right? They're pushing out mid. They set it up so they are in a situation with these Baron buff minion advantages where when Contractz inevitably comes in, like I tried to draw the arrow to predict his entry. I actually don't know how successful I was in that.
Sequence.
Yeah, like they set up everything so that it makes NRG's choices so tough, even if they see a good angle.
And FlyQuest is absolutely playing with their food this game, I would say. That whole sequence by Bwipo while Inspired was killing the Gromp, and that whole slow chase that Inspired just did where he just is almost torturing NRG, making them walk back to base, because he was never going to actually fight them, but he was making sure they had to do what he wanted.
Man, if FlyQuest is playing with their food, they're making NRG look chewy right now. These guys are just not standing the test of time as FlyQuest are done toying around. They are done with game 1, and they are looking to end it here. Palafox finally finds a shuffle, but it's far too late for that. Quad goes on a rampage. NRG gets aced. The only cost is just Bwipo there in the top lane, and it's a trade he's happy to make. It was one-sided straight out of the gate, 22-5. 14,000 gold lead, Dragon Soul, Baron, the whole kitchen sink. FlyQuest takes game 1.
And don't let the fact that this game took almost 34 minutes make you think the game was close.
It was
because FlyQuest was, to your point, Flowers, ahead from basically minute 5.
Yeah, and FlyQuest are so good. Again, we talked a lot about Bwipo. We talked about their map movements. We talked about how Inspired looked this game. FlyQuest carries in Quad and Massu. I think only Quad died the one time.
Yep.
Massu went deathless. They both looked really good in this composition. Again, understanding who they need to get the gold on and trusting their young carries to get them there.
Good game 1 from FlyQuest. Now a reminder to all y'all LCS fans out there, next week we will be live on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Playoffs means we got more games some weeks, and next week's one of them. That's a bonus day on Friday, then the regularly scheduled programming returning on Saturday and Sunday. Now it's time to head back over to the LCS Lounge with Ezreal and Kobe to break that one down.
And Raz.
Yeah.
A little disrespected, guys.
Pipe down, Raz.
Okay.
I want to thank you all back to a more uncertain time. Because let's be honest, we knew FlyQuest was going to win that game for quite a while. So let's go back to the very beginning of the game when NRG had some hope because they actually did a good first.
The gold's dead even.
Yeah, I'm taking us back to before minions. No lead for FlyQuest here, Ezreal. And this is NRG setting up a lane swap. So they've got their invade wards. They have Huhi already positioning to go up to the top side. And they actually are able to get a jungle lead for Contractz due to camps. So first thing they do right here, you can see Dhokla helps leash for Contractz, speeding up the Wukong clear on the weak side of the map for them. And the bottom side is weak side because they're lane swapping up here to the top side. So that's why we think of these camps kind of as off limits for Contractz normally in a lane swap. And Inspired, he just does his normal kind of red quadrant clear, but then he is actually gonna go over to dive Dhokla here. They make the call. You see, he was crossing, but then he changes his mind because of the call, clears his Raptors, gets his level 3, dives Dhokla. Dhokla is Sion though, gets right back up. You can get your gold, you can get your experience with your zombie form. And that allows Contractz here on the Wukong now to play off of his duo that had swapped and steal away the blue buff, ends up stealing away the Gromp as well. Inspired here has to get chased down to the other side, and they end up going actually for another dive onto Dhokla. Now, at that point, it's actually pretty good for NRG. They've got the camp lead on Contractz. Dhokla is Sion, so they trade top laner kills here, and they actually have a little bit of an experienced lead because Sion does get back up and is able to get all his minions. Now, it gets a little worse, Raz.
No!
So, they have the opportunity to swap their duo lane back and try to actually defend on the bottom side, but they don't want to do it, so NRG make the call to go back into the lane swap again, keep their duo up there, and let's look at how differently they play this out. Look how FlyQuest do the lane swap from this 5-minute point in order to zone Dhokla from experience. This is the key. Zoning him away. This distance here, too far from the minions, Busio, Massu, and Inspired all putting that pressure on Dhokla, so he actually doesn't go in. But look at the opposite side. NRG are not putting that pressure on Bwipo. He's soaking experience freely up here, and it's going to result in the first tower bonus. So Massu gets very rich, lots of gold off this. They also slingshot the experience lead. Now back the other way, it ends up being 2-level lead for top laners here because the extra pressure was not put on Bwipo to push him off. And this is where it just gets even worse. So we'll end it here, but that is how FlyQuest were able to actually take control of this lane swap on that possible break point there around the 5-minute mark. Raz, we also have some further bad news for NRG though. Take us into one of their team fights.
Yeah, take us to 10 minutes and 50 seconds, please. Because although this was not looking great for NRG going further post 5 minutes, you could probably just end the game at 5 minutes, NRG would be happy. Okay. This case, actually, I want to hear from you, Ezreal, because you had already made the critique about NRG's coordination coming into this game, and we see it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the TP from Palafox, right? It just feels like he is TPing on that ward, and it only makes sense if he thinks his team is going to be hard engaging at that moment, and the fight is already going to be underway. He's going to arrive, hit a big ulti, and it goes their way. When NRG kites back, and he's TPing in and arriving, he just 1v5 dies instantly for free.
Yeah, and I would have loved him to TP earlier. I understand that he's trying to match TPs, but he is going to be...
positioning.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be out of position because NRG has already been forced off this because they're trying to go on to Vi. So if you're trying to send, the Ashe arrow, the Rakan ulti all onto Vi, and you're moving from that area, well, guess what? Azir is going to be left alone. And it kind of reminds me of that Telestration segment you had at the beginning of the day, because by the time he's actually there to join the fight is essentially already over, and all of the tools from NRG has been used. Yeah. So I would have expected them to maybe go into Karma or something that's a little bit more closer and achievable. But even if you do it, I feel like Palafox just needs to be there from the jump.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things that I think has been a consistent issue for them, unfortunately. And again, it is kind of biting them because FlyQuest is a team that you cannot afford to make these mistakes against. They are going to be a really tough opponent. And now let's break down this week's Pagoda moment featuring FlyQuest Busio. This was sick. Catching this live, I was pretty sure what I saw. I went back and watched it again. Look at this. Self-McHale's on the Ashe ult as he comes out of the Wukong Cyclone. Perfectly timed. If you press that a split second too early, you waste your Mikhails, you're stunned. If you press it a split second too late, you are stunned. You cannot use your Mikhails. So this was way more impressive than like the Captain Jack type QSS for me. And it's just, again, showing those support mechanics here for Busio was really on point in this game.
I especially love it because people love to meme on support players for their mechanics in a bad way. Usually it's like, oh, man, we are in trouble if we get support players auto-filled to other roles. But Busio really displaying some nice moves here.
And it did feel like it was impactful for the fight. They bought a lot of time while Vi and I'm trying to remember, it was actually a quad that ended up picking off Palafox on the side. Reposition, they take the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the last probably real chance that NRG had to get anything going in that game. It didn't work out. But remember, the Kia fan vote is back. Now through August 18th, you can cast your vote for the Kia Awards, including All-Pro, Rookie of the Year, and MVP at KiaLCSAwards.com. Plus, participating fans can enter for a chance to win a trip to the upcoming 2024 LCS Championship. Terms do apply. Speaking of Rookie of the Year, though, here's what Contractz and Blabber had to say when asked what their own Rookie of the Year wins meant to them.
It always feels like really good to get recognized, either by like the league, your fellow teammates, or even like the fans.
I am here with Rookie of the Split, Blabber.
So winning my Rookie Award was actually really meaningful to me because it proved to myself that like I could compete with these guys.
And here comes Sion, here comes the flash forward, the slow in as well. Contractz in the mix, gonna find some damage. Blabber gonna hope to stay alive.
I think I was just put into a spot to succeed. They just gave me the space to just play my game.
Contractz trying to turn around. Chance it does not. Contractz, he's over the flat spot. Kickstarter into the Toro range.
Winning Rookie of the Year definitely boosted my my stocks for a few years and gave me more opportunities to prove myself later.
Been really nice to see Kia being so supportive of esports as a whole.
Kia shows a lot of love for just all of LCS. Seeing all the rookies come into the LCS this year has been really exciting.
I kind of just enjoy playing against new players, playing against new talent, and seeing them improve. It's exciting. I can't wait to see who is chosen as the Kia Rookie of the Year.
Oh, look at this. No shot. No, he's got to try again.
You good, dude? They're watching. Hey, man, chill. I got it.
Yep. Wow. Pulled it off at the end.
Wow.
Not bad.
Not bad, not bad. Dude, why'd you put your new rig in the basement?
Didn't you hear? Bill's a gagillionaire now.
Basically, my new connection is so strong I can game anywhere. Check it out. We've got Gamer Rocker, Gamer Floaty, Gamer Couch.
Whoa.
It's got wheels.
Gamer Bench, Gamer Throne, and Gamer Mower. What's that? It's hard to game while walking downstairs.
I get it.
That's smart.
Live like a gagillionaire with low latency everywhere. AT&T Fiber with All-Fi.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Yo, they want to fight, looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just
again, Ori has no flash.
Yeah,
so
Ori's a good target. Yeah. Okay.
You ready?
On right side, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch my right here.
Yeah, you can't far.
Watch the foot.
Okay, look, Ori.
Okay.
Flash. Fine, flash. Orianna out, guys. Orianna out.
I have to kite out, guys. Kite out.
Yeah.
Kite out, guys. Kite out. Bad fight.
Are you okay?
Bad fight. Really bad.
Get out.
Bwipo, we need you here now if you want to fight.
TPing.
No, I don't know. I will flash.
Looks good. First target. Go on the TP. No flashes here.
Yeah, I'm gonna come.
Go on
I will
the
ult
TP.
him.
Yeah.
Sand ult.
I just blocked them.
He's dead.
They
But I can no ult already.
Nice job, guys. Care for yourselves, guys. Care for yourselves.
Can I get tower, yeah?
I'm fine. Wukong flashed in.
Whoa, they're going on Karma?
I pushed the Rakan away.
Come.
Rakan's ult is down, okay? This is fine. I block.
Azir died, we are
Let's
coming.
fight together. Yes, we win here.
Wukong no flash. Sand no flash.
Nice job, guys.
Go slow, he has no flash.
IQ 3 them all.
Shield and 2 Bwipo.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Kill him.
Nice, well played,
Shield
guys.
and 2.
Oh, look bot. Orianna, can you start walking?
VL start walking.
Going Azir.
Yeah.
VL coming, VL fast.
Nuke is proud of me again.
Go Nash.
Well played. Yeah, that's free Nash. I'll base TP.
Yeah.
Just making sure your HP is fine.
If they engage it, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
have my kills. Did Ashe arrow there?
No, she didn't arrow.
We
They will
push
fight,
this
guys.
line
We
in.
don't do Nash. We can't do Nash, okay?
Missed
Don't
time.
go too deep. Don't go too deep.
I'm
Don't go
marking
too deep.
Rakan. I'm marking Rakan.
Just hit front.
Rakan's marked.
Big shockwave. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Rakan is ulting now. Nice squad.
I want to go on thinking here.
Lakan.
Okay, nice.
Has ulti. Has ulti.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We look to end here, okay?